Hello, 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 Earth Tribers. Welcome back and thank you for joining me today. We have a good one for you today. Today's topic is happiness and how to kind of achieve it. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the concept of destination syndrome. At least that's what I like to call it. And what it is it's the concept or the idea that happiness is after dot dot dot. Insert the thing that you think will bring you happiness. Happiness is after I buy that car that I want. Happiness is after I get married. Happiness is after I have kids. Happiness is after dot dot dot. You get the idea. Um, this is a dangerous concept because it's what's sold to us in a capitalist system because they want to try to sell us things to make us happy. We need to have a grandiose wedding. That'll make us happy. We need to have a nice car. That'll make us happy. Now, I just want to make it very clear. It doesn't mean that these things aren't enjoyable. As a matter of fact, they're very enjoyable. But what we have to understand is that the only way we could truly, fully enjoy them is by cultivating our own happiness and having that already. Then we don't expect something unreasonable from those things. Like a car is not going to make you happy. It might provide some temporary joy, but if you're unhappy before the car, you're going to be unhappy shortly after you get it. And this is dangerous because this can lead to addiction. If the car doesn't do it, then you need a newer, nicer car. If reaching $100,000 in your bank account doesn't do it, then you need to reach $300,000, etc. This is the beginning of addiction, and we're not just talking about material addiction or monetary addiction, but also chemical addiction. Sometimes we feel that we achieve happiness by a night out drinking with the friends, or after we get the drug that we like to use. That's not the case, though. Unfortunately, addiction kind of robs us of happiness. It forces us to use something to reach back to the baseline. So it slowly takes away. It's like a downhill trend. And then anytime we use or we receive or we achieve something, it gives something back. So there's the illusion of an uptick, but the overall trend is down. And I'd love to get more into this in a video down the line. But let's focus today on simply on the concept of happiness. Simply put, we are not taught how to cultivate our own happiness. We're not. That's why depression rates are as high as they are. That's why suicide is unfortunately so very high. And we live in a day and age where kids are shooting up schools, and sure, we could blame the guns and maybe rightfully so. However, nobody is really talking about the idea that like these kids are depressed. There's a deep depression there. And what's happening is what I believe depression is it's a warning light. We're taught that it's like a chemical imbalance in our brain, like the buck has been passed off onto us. We're at fault. It's not the case. It's a warning light on your car's dashboard saying check engine soon. And what that is signaling is something is missing. Now, what's missing? Now I'd like to get into what I have found to be a very, very beautiful model of happiness. It's called the SPIRE model of happiness. And now, this is something I found after my journeys, after I found my own happiness. I saw this and I was like, yeah, that kind of sums up the pieces of the puzzle that I put together that allowed me to feel the joy that I feel when I wake up every morning, the zest for life that I have. And I assure you, I really do love this life. And it's not always perfect. And I definitely face my trials and tribulations, but I attack them with a gusto, So back to it. What is SPIRE? All right. Well, it's an acronym, and it stands for several things. The first thing is spiritual health. Now, what this means is I don't want to say that you need to believe in a God or a higher being or anything like that. I think spiritual health at its very core is faith that things are going to be okay and being grounded in the present moment. Now, for those of you that don't know about the concept of being in the now, I highly recommend a book by Eckhart Tolle called The Power of Now. It's all about how we have thoughts, and thoughts of the present, or thoughts of the past and thoughts of the future will take us away from the present. And what this does is it creates emotions, right? It creates emotions that we maybe don't want. We get upset about things in our past, and we get anxious about things in our future, right? So highly recommend Power of Now, and highly recommend developing a practice that will get you grounded in the now, which I'll touch more on in just a second. The next one is physical health. All right, now this one is very simple. When your body isn't right, your mind isn't right. And your mind will signal you with depression or sadness. And what physical health is it means you're providing the proper nutrients to your body and you're moving your body. So diet and exercise, I'm sorry, I know it's not what many people want to hear, but diet and exercise are very important. And I don't think that necessarily means having the strictest diet or going to the gym every day. It just means falling in love with good food. And good food is very flavorful. And finding modalities of movement that you truly enjoy. Now, for me personally, I love weightlifting, I love dance, etc. I highly recommend dance. Dance is just fun, and it's a way of moving our body while having fun at the same time. I always think about how as we were kids, we would just play until we lost our breath, and then we would just take a quick rest, catch our breath, and go right back to playing. That's all we're trying to regain here. All right. Next up is relational health. So that means you have good relationships. That means you've taken away the toxic people of your life now. First off, I love everybody. And I encourage everybody to develop a deep, unconditional love for everybody. However, that does not mean always allowing people who can be toxic for our mental health into our lives. We can love them while having healthy boundaries. And that's very important. So it's really important to fill our lives with good, positive people who are smiling a lot, laughing a lot, and lifting us up a lot. That's very important. And it's fundamental, I think, to being a human, because as humans in the wild, there's no way we would have survived by ourselves. We needed community. Like we would be just destroyed by tigers and lions, etc. So we needed a community to keep us safe. That's how we work. And the way I see it is part of that concept of relational health is making sure that people are smiling around you, because when people are smiling around you, it means they're happy. It means that they're able to perform at their optimal or close to keep us safe. So that's your brain telling you, hey, you have a good support system around you, we're safe. Or we don't have a good support system around us, we need something to be safe. Okay, and then last but not least is emotional health. Now this, I feel like, ties back into the spiritual, being grounded in the present, because while emotions are a part of our life, we have to understand that they're triggered by emotions, or I'm sorry, triggered by thoughts. So we need to develop a healthy understanding of how our thoughts affect us. And if we have a lot of negative thoughts, we need to start working towards eliminating those negative thoughts, right? So emotionally, it's important to understand what these things are. Like, it's important to understand what happiness and sadness are. And like I said, to me, sadness is a warning sign that some of the things I mentioned aren't being satisfied. It's like literally just a check engine light for our psyche. Happiness to me is the default state of humanity. Now, we can derive pleasure from things. That's an elevation for sure. But by default, we should be happy. That's turning your car on and there's no warning lights, just functional. Everything works. But we have somehow elevated happiness as this thing that we need to achieve, which is, it does us a disservice. It's something that we should be cultivating and living in intrinsically. And when we are not happy, we need to really question why. Now, next up, I really want to talk about some tools to help us achieve these things, to help us achieve the SPIRE checklist, to help us go down. So I mentioned Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle. It's a great book, fundamental. And there's many great books about meditation, the concept of being present in the moment, etc., etc. Gratitude, showing gratitude is a great tool. I also highly recommend yoga. It was big for me. There's a reason people gravitate towards it. Yoga is a form of movement, oftentimes movement. There's some yogas that are less movement. For example, Kundalini yoga or Kirtan yoga. But Hatha yoga is a modality of movement that kind of tricks us into meditating, because we're in a pose and then we are guided to focus on our breath. And by focusing on our breath, our mind empties and we can achieve this Zen-like state. And as you work this muscle of letting the thoughts go, that muscle becomes stronger, and then it's easier to let thoughts that we don't want go. And this is very important and very powerful. Now with yoga comes meditation and mindfulness. Being mindful in the present moment, being able to understand that there's millions of signals that our brain gets at all times of the day. And even in one moment, there's millions of signals. And depending on the programming in our brain and the traumas we hold, those signals, certain signals will be interpreted in certain ways and others will be ignored. So if we're programmed to have a bad day or to always see the negative in life, we will see the negative things in a moment. But if we program ourselves to see the beauty in a day, even like the sound of rain on a rainy day will make us smile. So there's really power in mindfulness and again, the art of meditation and being able to let go of thoughts. A big one for me has been ecstatic dance. This is a form of movement, and when you lose yourself in the dance, it achieves this Zen-like state, which is it's like a drug. It's like an amazing drug that frees you from thoughts. It allows your inner self to come out and move and express itself, which is so important. I guarantee you, we were given these bodies, these infinitely more complex than any Ferrari bodies, to move, to literally move ourselves. Now, finally, the last thing I want to touch on, the final tool, is church and religion. Now, these are loaded words. A lot of us have trauma from religion, so a lot of people in society want to hate on God. They want to hate on the church or any church or the concept of religion, and you get this kind of like religious bullying and people talking down to people who believe in God. Now, I encourage open-mindedness and acceptance when it comes to this. Just because it's not your modality of thinking doesn't mean it can't work for someone else. And if you are someone who doesn't believe in God, or who wants to talk down on God or people who believe in God, I strongly suggest you look at yourself and ask why. Because there's no way someone who's happy would talk down on anybody. If you're happy, you're going to say, hey, I'm happy and whatever I'm doing is working. And whatever somebody else is doing, if it's working for them, good for them. So if you're happy, you tend to live and let live, you know. But so if you're one of these like anti-religious people, just it might be an opportunity for you to look inward and say, why am I so opposed to this? What is the trauma that I carry that forces me to react in such a negative way, you know? And to all the people who will use science as a justification, I will just remind you that Albert Einstein, one of the greatest thinkers of his time, was very devout, very religious. Um, so just a little food for thought. And, you know, I don't want to alienate anybody. Earth Tribe is truly about acceptance, open acceptance of all kinds. Uh, I was a big Star Trek fan growing up, and to anybody who knows Star Trek, they'll recognize maybe this following mantra: infinite diversity and infinite combinations. That's what we're here to witness and experience, is the complexity and beauty of all of us individually intermingling and creating a beautiful world, which I firmly believe, guys, is right on the horizon. And with that, I'd like to thank you very much for joining me today. And if you like this video, if you like this channel, please like, please subscribe, please share with your friends. Let's get this movement going. Let's shake this world, and let's welcome this new world that I see coming, that I really believe is inevitable. And with that, have a beautiful day, guys. I truly wish you nothing but peace, joy, and happiness in your hearts. Goodbye.